A son stood in a Los Angeles courtroom on Monday and said not guilty to killing the parents who gave him everything, and the silence that followed said just as much as the words themselves. Nick Reiner, 32, the son of legendary Hollywood director Rob Reiner and photographer and producer Michele Singer. Reiner formally entered a not guilty plea to 2 counts of first-degree murder on February 24, 2026, more than 2 months after his parents were found stabbed to death inside their upscale Brentwood home. Standing behind glass in an enclosed custody area wearing a brown jail jumpsuit with a shaved head and light stubble, Nick said almost nothing during the hearing, except yes. When the judge asked if he waived his right to a speedy progression of the case, his public defender, Deputy Public Defender Kimberly Green, entered the plea on his behalf. It was the 3rd time a plea had been scheduled, and the first time it actually happened. Previous hearings had been derailed by drama of their own, most notably when high-profile private attorney Alan Jackson abruptly withdrew from the case at a January court date, citing circumstances beyond his and his client's control that legal ethics prevented him from explaining. Before walking away from the case, Jackson made a point of telling reporters outside the courthouse that pursuant to California law, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Those words now carry the weight of an official court record. Rob Reiner, 78, and Michele Singer, Reiner, 70, were found dead on December 14, 2025 by their daughter inside their home in the affluent Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner determined they died from multiple sharp force injuries, and authorities confirmed the couple had been killed hours before the bodies were discovered. A court order has since blocked the public release of further details surrounding the deaths. Nick Reiner was arrested the same day the bodies were found. He had been living on his parents' property at the time. Sources told ABC News that the night before the killings, Nick attended a holiday party with his father where the two were seen arguing. Reports differ on how intense the confrontation became, but what followed in the hours after remains at the center of a case that has gripped the nation. Prosecutors allege that Nick fatally stabbed both his father and mother inside a bedroom of the home before fleeing the scene. Nick has been held without bail since his arrest. His first brief court appearance came on December 17, 2025, when he waived his right to a speedy arraignment while wearing a suicide prevention smock, a detail that stood out and has since been widely noted. By the time he appeared in court on Monday, the smock was gone, replaced by standard jail clothing. Attorneys on both sides had spent weeks working to piece together Nick's psychiatric and substance abuse history, according to sources. He has a documented history of addiction and substance abuse treatment, and people close to him told investigators that his mental health had been visibly deteriorating in the period leading up to the fatal stabbings. The case will now move forward under Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Sam Ota, a veteran jurist with extensive experience presiding over high-profile murder, manslaughter, and public corruption cases. Even by his standards, the level of national media attention surrounding this case is unprecedented. Nick is scheduled to return to court on April 29 when a preliminary hearing date will be set. At that hearing, prosecutors will present their evidence before a new judge who will determine whether the case is strong enough to proceed to trial. One of the most consequential questions still hanging over the case is whether the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office will seek the death penalty. D.A. Nathan Hochman, speaking to reporters outside the courthouse after Monday's hearing, said that decision has not yet been made. He described it as a rigorous process involving careful review of all aggravating and mitigating circumstances, including concerns raised by the family. Nick already faces a special circumstance allegation of multiple murders, which makes him death penalty eligible under California law. A conviction could result in either life in prison without the possibility of parole or execution. Deputy District Attorney Habib Balian noted that while the full autopsy report from the medical examiner is still pending, all other evidence has been turned over to the defense. Investigators have remained notably tight-lipped throughout the case. There have been virtually no leaks from either side, leaving major questions about motive unanswered in the public record. Rob and Michele Reiner had been married for 36 years. They met during the production of When Harry Met Sally, the 1989 romantic comedy that Rob directed, and that became one of the most beloved films of its era. His career as a director spanned decades and produced some of the most enduring films in American cinema, including This Is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, and A Few Good Men. Michele built her own remarkable career as an actress, photographer, and producer, and founded Reiner Light, a photography and production company. The couple's other children, Jake and Romy Reiner, released a statement in the days following their parents' deaths. "Words cannot even begin to describe the unimaginable pain we are experiencing," they wrote. "The horrific and devastating loss of our parents, Rob and Michele Reiner, is something that no one should ever experience. They weren't just our parents, they were our best friends." A family spokesperson added that the family has full trust in the legal process and will not comment further on matters related to ongoing proceedings. Nick Reiner is the third of Rob Reiner's 4 children. He is receiving publicly funded legal representation, which is standard for defendants who cannot afford private counsel. It remains unclear who originally hired Alan Jackson or who was covering that bill before he withdrew from the case. As the case heads toward a preliminary hearing and eventually possibly a trial, the questions that linger are enormous. What truly happened inside that Brentwood home on the night of December 14th? What drove a son to be accused of an act this unthinkable against the very people who raised him? And what will the full weight of the evidence reveal when it is finally presented in open court? What do you think about this case? Do you believe the full truth will come out before this reaches trial? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to stay on top of every development as this story unfolds, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.